And welcome, everyone. I certainly appreciate your time today on joining us for part two of our four-part presentation on the best practices used to open a new restaurant or food truck. I appreciate the Dallas College Small Business Development Center very much for making this available and giving us this opportunity. For those of you who were in the first episode, you know we talked about defining your initial idea. How to test it, where to go for preliminary market research, and how to lay the foundation of organizing all the information that's going to be needed to build a complete restaurant business plan. So today, episode 2 is all about building a business plan. We're going to build a winning business plan. I know sometimes people feel overwhelmed by this. We're going to try to break it down into the simple steps. And I'm going to share with you a flow of information that has worked for me very well over the years, presenting business plans for restaurants. So ready to go? Let's build a business plan. First thing is to clearly understand the objectives of a good business plan. If we maintain that as our focus, it's going to help us be certain that we get everything in and get it in the right order. So I assume without me even mentioning the objectives, you would always guess that a good business plan is needed if we're thinking about raising money, qualifying for a bank loan, talking to investors and partners. And that's true. Of course, that's a main objective. But you might be surprised to know that a good business plan is just as important for two other things, not just to secure funds, but also to secure the right location. Because landlords today are looking at their locations for long-term success. And the right locations are typically very competitive. So trust me, if you and your partner, for example, feel like you found a perfect lease space to start your counter service spicy wing business, if it's going to work well for you, that same size space in that same location is probably going to work well for a lot of other people too. And a good business plan will help differentiate you. A good business plan will level the playing field between you and maybe some of these other people that are calling on that space that are more established. They could be regional chains. They could be a franchise of a national chain. Now, trust me, both of those are going to sound a little bit more secure to a landlord than somebody coming in and saying, my wife and I have quit our jobs. We're opening up our first restaurant. It's going to be great. You got to give us the space. So see what I mean? So if you follow these principles today and you present a really good plan, and all of a sudden they can start seeing that, wow, these people with this plan seem to be very knowledgeable of the customer profile that I'm attracting by this center, the days, the time of days that are going to be busy, how to, master the delivery so they don't really need a tremendous amount of parking because my center doesn't. So, all of a sudden now you're creating believability. And then when we get to the budget, if they see that you've really thought out your numbers very well, then it puts you on more of a level playing field. So that's number 2. Raising funds, sure, number 1. Number 2, getting that landlord to secure the site for you rather than someone else depends really on how well the plan is created and presented. And then third, and I think over the long haul, this is almost most important, it's to help you as a startup restaurant entrepreneur maintain your focus. A well-written plan becomes your blueprint. You're going to go back from time to time, and you're going to take a look at, this is what we said. This was our objective. This is what we said our mission was. This is the constraints of the budget. And so it's going to help you stay on time and on concept, because the last thing on earth you want to have happen is to go through the process of creating an image, building a plan, getting a site, guaranteeing a lease, guaranteeing loans, raising money, working very hard, and then opening up and say, well, the good news is we opened. The bad news is it isn't exactly what we were, striving for. Somewhere along the way, we fell off the truck. We must have missed the point here, and we're not on target. You want to, you don't want that to happen. So a good restaurant plan is going to help accomplish all 3 of those items. We're going to present different sections of the plan, and I'm going to walk you through each of them and what the important components are of them. Before we get into that, I want to remind you that they've got really good, knowledgeable assistants available as you're drafting this, and you need research or you need some quality opinions, you might need some advice, some proofing. You've got advisors right there at the Small Business Development Center that do this. And so remember to utilize all of the services that are afforded to you. So the first section in this plan is kind of a short one, and it's kind of funny to know that it comes first, but we write it last. It's the executive summary. The job of an executive summary in your business plan is to grab the attention of the reader and very quickly, within 1.5 pages, let them know what it is they're going to be reading. So it doesn't go into a tremendous amount of detail, but it's very popular. It's very well known as answering what we call the 5 W's. So very quickly, they know who you are, what you're doing, where you're wanting to do it, why it's going to work, and based on your more moderate expectations, when the investors or debt to on the loan is expected to be paid back. That's really what it is. So think about that if you're going to have an executive summary in a very short order, I need to make sure that this bank officer or this lending committee or equipment lease company or, again, landlord knows very quickly what this plan is about, because they've got other things to do. They have other plans to read. And so if it's lollygagging around, if it gets into too much detail, if they have to try too hard to understand what is this I'm going to be reading, it's pretty easy to assume it might just get set aside. But if very quickly it's, here's who we are, here's what we're going to do, here's where we're wanting to do it, here's why it's going to work, and based on our more moderate expectations, here's when people can expect to get their money back. That's it, man. Who, what, where, why, when. Takes a page and to a page and a half at the most. Then the rest of the plan is basically going into detail that backs that up. So now you can understand why, even though it goes first in order, it's written last, because it's best to just take pieces of the things that we've written about our concept, about our location, about how we're going to operate, about our numbers, so that we can answer the who and the what and the where and the why and the when. Okay, so let's move on. Right after the executive summary comes your concept description. This is one of, say, only 2 sections where you really are more at liberty to, put the pedal to the metal, so to speak, where you're really doing a little bit more of a sell. A lot of business plans are mostly factual information, data, and numbers. I get it. But we start that with the concept because you want to paint a picture. A good concept description is something where if the reader was just listening to somebody read it and close their eyes, they'd get a really good picture of what this is supposed to be when it's open. Now, in order to do that, you want to make sure that you're writing it in a manner that touches all 5 senses. So a lot of good concept descriptions start with, from the customer point of view, what am I going to see? What am I going to experience when I walk into this counter service spicy wing place, to stay with that example? So as I walk in, what is it that I'm going to be hearing? What kind of vibe, experience, lighting, feel, aroma? Is there an open kitchen? Is food part of the programming? Is it food service, full service, I mean? So that means I'll be welcomed by an inviting, friendly host or hostess who's going to seat me to the table. So walk me through, as I sit, let's describe the environment. How's it going to look? How's it going to feel? What's the music going to say? What am I going to be smelling? Okay, now let's describe the customer profile. Is this spicy concept wing place a place for large groups? Is it a busy lunch place? Is it workers for lunch? Is it more of that separate takeout counter that's visible for all of the people that did the online ordering? Is there an active curbside pickup delivery going on? Is there a bar? If so, describe the bar and the bar offerings. Then we go into a little overview of the menu, type of food, a little bit about the price range, hours of operation, style of service. So I'm getting a really good feel for what I'm going to see what I'm going to taste, what I'm going to hear. And that's a good way of describing it. So we don't go into tremendous detail. This should only be a couple of pages, but we want to make sure it's kind of exciting. What is the uniqueness? Is there a particular, I don't know, something about the layout that is unique, that creates the people see people excitement that you were trying to create? Is there a certain time? Is there a certain entertainment? Is there private parties available? You know, don't forget that you want to describe everything that's going on in that concept. So it's lunch, okay, it's dinner, carside pickup, third-party delivery, private parties, order at the counter, what variety of menu, how long is it going to be taking, what types of quantities are they going to be able to ordering, rough price range. So they really get a full picture. That's a good concept description. So that's why I meant it's one of the few opportunities to kind of put the pedal to the metal, because you are kind of bragging in here. You're welcoming people to this new, cool, exciting spin on spicy wings at the counter, or build your own salad bar, or coffee bakery, or, you know, whatever the case may be. But you're wanting to get across the excitement of why they're going to enjoy going in, and what they're going to see, and what they're going to taste, and what they're going to hear, and the other customers that they're going to experience, and that kind of thing. Bingo, that's a really good concept description, and that's why it goes right at the beginning. You just gave me a little overview, who you are, what you're doing, where you want to do it, right? Why it's going to work. Now you go right into the concept. Boom, I get it. 1,800 square feet, go down the left, order, colors, this. I have a really good picture now because of the way you described the size, the hours, the menu, the color, the music, and the people. Good. Now we move on to explain how that concept fits in the market segment. So this is more basic factual. Now you're educating, and the title of this part of your business plan is the market segment. So after the concept description, goes right into a market segment analysis. So using the spicy wing counter service as a good example, now what we'd want to do is explain what's going on in the market segment known as quick casual or counter service. Who are the leaders in that segment? Who are you most like? What type of information can you gather about that market segment? Is it a growing market segment? Why are guests attracted? Is it because it's convenient? It has good value pricing. It is something that can be attractive at different day parts. We go up to the counter and we eat when we're on the go, or we know that we can take it to go, or we can entertain the kids after softball. Is that what's working in that market segment? Now, you can get good market segment data from a variety of restaurant sources. There are some that you can go on the web to find. There are some subscription sources that send out tremendous newsletters and routine information, monthly insights, weekly updates on market segments and what's happening. There's magazines, there's websites. I've mentioned one before, the restaurantowner.com. That is a tremendous resource for you just to kind of learn from. There's a tremendous amount of webinars that they've had and interviews with people from a variety of market segments. You can listen to all of those. There are some sources, Aaron Allen and Associates. There's another source called Technomic. These are restaurant think tanks that are available online. You can subscribe to their newsletters and you can get a tremendous amount of information. Restaurant associations are also good about explaining what's working and isn't working on the various market segments. So this is educational for you too, because now you're learning what market segment you fit into. Are you a casual event-driven based segment, like a food truck, food trailer? Are you more of that in-place full-service restaurant? Are you small drive-through fast food, or are you counter service quick casual? Are you sit down full service but medium price casual? Are you chef driven, more upper casual? Are you fine dining, very expensive, chef driven, more for special occasion or private parties? Each of those segments have data available. Each of them have leaders in the industry. And this is the section where you pull that data, you educate the reader, and then you explain how you fit in with that trend. Why this is a safe investment, because my spicy wing counter service is at a price range that is the hottest, most popular market segment, growing in revenue over the past 3 years, according to, and then you list your sources. So it's good to be able to educate people and also sort of give yourself confirmation of what segment you fit in and what's good about that segment. Then the other part you want to add is how you might be a little different. Just because there's leaders in the industry and they're all about whatever bowls and salad bars and burritos. If you're doing something like that, how do you fit in? How will you be just as fast? How your prices are similar? How are you going to be attracting, say, the same customer profile? But then what's your point of difference? Is it something about your atmosphere, your menu, something maybe about the region that you're of recipes from whatever countries and whatever part of the world that you're presenting that add a little bit of difference? So that's what the market segment is all about. Describes the segment of the industry, who the current leaders are, customer profile, how you fit in, but then also what's your point of difference, and so how you're going to stand out. So now we've given a little overview. We described the concept. I've got a good picture in mind, and boom, then you told me how it's going to fit within the industry, who the customers are, where they're going. That basically gives me a little sense of confidence that even though I don't know you, if I'm the reader and I don't know the name, you're a brand new startup restaurant, I feel like I can identify a little bit with you because I'm currently going to say similar things. I'm currently going to other counter service restaurants. They can identify, I feel this is safer. I get it. I go to places where I go through the line and I spend $12 a person. I get it. Yes, I call ahead. I understand how the curbside works. So I see how you're going to fit in with a trend. I understand the trend. Heck, I probably participate in that trend. That's the result you're trying to get from the reader through the market segment analysis section. Now that we've done that, we move on to our location. And here's where I always get a few questions because people say, I don't know if I can finish my plan. I don't have a location. Very true. Most of you, if you're writing a first restaurant business plan, you may not have an exact location done, signed and sealed. Very rarely do you. Sometimes that happens, but again, very rarely. So what normally occurs is you've done enough research to know the type of size, the type of customer, where you want to be. Is this urban? Is it suburban? Am I part of a multi-concept shopping center? Am I a small strip bump out center? And you can find a couple of samples. So what you do is you use those. You use location number 1, location number 2 as the type of location, the type of size, the type of neighborhood, placement. And that's what you use as where it is you would like to be. That gives you enough information for later when we start building our budget, because knowing where you want to be gives us enough information for things like rent and triple nets and other expenses that we're going to need in order to complete a proper opening budget and operating income budgets as well. So what do I do with a location segment? How do I do that if I don't have a specific site? I would always do a couple. I would do this type of a location. So we're going to stick with the example of the day, spicy wings, counter service. And maybe this is more of a suburban concept. So what we're really looking for is a place that's going to be pretty balanced, that is maybe in a small center, but part of a bigger traffic generator. So I know that things like workers, warehouse parks, offices in the area can get in and out quickly for lunch. But I'm close enough to other activities, the weekend activities, the shopping, the bowling, the schools, the soccer fields, the baseball, the churches, that kind of thing. And what's normally behind them? Single family housing, multifamily housing. So it's a pretty balanced suburban area. That's what you find. You can get a picture of that. There are real estate sources that will give you a 1, 3, and 5 mile circle of demographics broken down by age and education and income. That'll also give you traffic patterns. This is the kind of information that helps describe where you want to be. That's the kind of information that the reader, whether they're interested in loaning you money or granting you a location, wants to see, so that they can see that it's consistent with what you've been describing so far. This is a very important section to help the reader understand consistency. If you described a concept and you described it well, you talked about the market segment, I understand. But then if you showed me a location where I thought, I don't see restaurants like that in that location, I think that's maybe the wrong neighborhood. See, now what's happening is you're creating a lack of confidence. Confusion is what you're creating. You're losing the reader. But if they see that location, they go, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's the same kind of place. You're going to find the impulse buying and the cookie guy. And that's the same kind of shopping center. You might find other, places that are similar. They might be selling a different product, but they're similar in price range. They're similar in customer profile attraction. It's the pizza guy and the burrito guy. So of course, maybe a wing guy might work very, very well there. So you want to show that kind of consistency. This is why you want to work with maybe specific advisors that understand the industry. This is why it'd be good to, as I mentioned, even in our first episode last week, how important it is to join associations, network with operators, go to restaurant association meetings. You don't have to be a restaurant owner to be active in there, because this section becomes a lot easier when you've already talked with 1 or 2 real estate brokers that aren't just commercial brokers with a nice business card. They're real estate brokers that specialize in restaurants. And if you contact them and you say, I'm building my plan, this is my idea, this is my concept, I might need a little help on area. I'm not ready yet. I know, for you to represent me, introduce me to landlords. I don't have the money yet. But what I was told was that you might be able to help me just find information that will make me feel good about these locations and help me finish my business plan. They'll probably give you a couple of names of sources that you can go online. Some of these sources are not free. You may actually have to subscribe to an income source, type in an address, and get a plethora of information, including graphs and aerials. Some of it might be. But that's the kind of information that you need. So remember, associations, brokers, your own SBDC advisors can help direct you here. But a location section really should have a couple of what you call sample sites, and should include the information that I'm describing: photo, demographic information, and everything that we talk about that's location information describes the customer, the demographic, the spending pattern, the traffic pattern. Those are things that describe the location. Now, what you also want to pick up is some information at this point that describes the site. And I'm going to tell you the difference. The location describes the area. Like my location is, I'm part of this big shopping center, and it's on the corner of this and this. And I can describe the traffic. I can describe the competition in the area. I can describe the housing, the income, and the demographics of the area. That's great location education. The site is the exact space that's inside that shopping center. That's the site. And site information is, in addition to the location description, specific things about accessibility. Do I have multiple points of entry? Visibility, is it seen? Are there any parking restrictions, hour restrictions? So you can get a few of these site details at this point. And if you have, then that's something that you include in here, that the particular lease space that you're looking at as a good sample for you is close enough to the main traffic generator, like say the grocery store, but not right next to it, because you need a little bit more identity, visibility, and available parking. So you need to be more over here. Now, if you're describing maybe an impulse concept, a grab and go, cookie, ice cream, yogurt, pretzel, maybe being right next is good, because your concept is for walk-by traffic. On my way back to the car, smell the pretzel, boom, I'm in. But no, if you're really more of a lunch, dinner, going back to that concept of the spicy wing, chicken sandwich guy, he wants to serve people for lunch, people for dinner, large orders to go, car side pickup. You might want to be in that same location, but a slightly different site further away so that you have visibility, accessibility, and more parking. So you see the difference there? Location and site, both very important. And at this point, they're both just samples because you don't really have a lease if you're developing your very first business plan for a brand new startup concept. Not at this point, not yet. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is going from the summary to the concept description. I'm excited about what you're doing. Market segment, I understand how it fits within the market. And now you've told me 1 or 2 places that you would like it to be. So the next one now is the operations section. And this entails a few different specific things. They can be summarized by what we call the 3 M's. Your management, your menu, and your marketing program. Those are the 3 basic parts of this next section. And this next section is very important. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on it. The operations section goal is to hold on and build more confidence in the reader. Because see, by now you've answered some major questions. The reader understands who you are, what you're doing. They understand the concept. They can have a good picture of it. They understand where you're wanting to put it. So the questions that they need to have answered now is a little bit more about how are you going to manage it? Because a lot of these readers that want to be investors or landlords who want to reach out to a startup are always concerned with startup operators understanding the industry. It's a tough industry. It's competitive. How are you going to manage this business if you hadn't been doing it for a long time? Because all we hear about are things like, product that can spoil, margins that are tight, labor that's high, product that can be stolen. It's a cash business. How are you going to handle your accounting? So we have to continue building confidence so people understand that. And you have to speak to every one of those issues. So this is where you want to explain the management structure, starting with yourself. You introduce yourself. What's your role in this? What are your responsibilities? A lot of first-time restaurant operators come to the industry with different directions, and they have different roles. They have different responsibilities. I've worked with many, for example, that came from the culinary point of view. So they explained that, the whole reason for this concept was because of the kitchens that they worked in or the recipes that they have from their family. And so they basically are going to be in charge of running the restaurant, but from what we call the back of the house. They're going to be running the kitchen. Their responsibility is going to be selecting the right purveyors, costing out the menu, maintaining quality, training the kitchen. And then that means they may have to do a little diagram to show an organizational chart of their support cast. Who's going to be there to help them operate the openings, the closings, the administrative side of the business, the front of the house, guest services, facility cleanliness, staff selection, staff training. So you want to talk about all of these things individually so that the reader understands that, wow, this person may be a startup, but they know what's involved. And I'm confident that because they know what's involved, they're going to be able to successfully manage in a business that we know has a fairly high rate of failure. That's what we're overcoming. So we start with that. Who we are, what our role is, an organizational chart of our other players, front of the house manager, assistant manager. Here's the 3 people. Okay, now how are we going to do it? You want to go into detail about the job descriptions for these key people. Who's responsible for staff selection, training, how we're going to rotate openings and closings, how we're going to develop budgets, how are we going to do our accounting? Are we going to follow the general accounting principles that are found in restaurants today? And there are general accounting principles, for restaurants. This can be pointed out to you by your activity on some of those restaurants websites that I told you about, restaurant associations that I told you to join. So you can explain how, wow, we are going to use the cloud-based point of sale system that's going to allow us to track our sales, also manage our inventory. It's going to have everyone punch in and out so I can watch my labor daily. And we're going to utilize all the general accounting principles for daily sales reporting, daily labor reporting, weekly, costs supervision, and how that's going to compare to my monthly or my period plan. So you see, just by mentioning these things and explaining that you're aware of them, how you're going to approach them, what you're going to do, who is responsible, that narrative helps build some confidence. So we're thinking this husband and wife team doesn't have a tremendous amount of experience, but they described an exciting concept. I think they're picking the right location. They're telling us how they're going to operate, and they're answering all the questions that I can think of, how they're going to structure their people, how the people are going to work, how they're going to watch money, how they're going to watch inventory. So now you're going to spend some time talking about how you're going to select your purveyors. Quality first, meeting with the purveyors, negotiating in price, so they can understand that at least 2 or 3 times a year, you're going to go out and you're going to be inviting purveyors to come in to see your specs, your specifications, and provide what type of buying program they would have for you. So they understand that you're just not jumping in the van, hoping that you can buy something that you need from Restaurant Depot or Costco, or changing vendors every week or two because you heard that this guy's got a cheaper avocado. So you don't want them worried about the quality of the product, the portion, the presentation. You don't want them worried that maybe you're not pricing your menu properly because your costs are changing and you're going to do a lot of this work and have no profit. So a lot of that, once they understand how you manage, how you select purveyors, and how you do accounting, some of that concern begins to go away. Let's remember, it's a people business, first of all. So you want to spend some time in this management section of your operations area, describing people, the types of positions that are going to be needed. How you're going to be looking and qualifying. What's the right type of person for you? Are you looking for a particular character, flexibility that then you're going to do the training? Are you looking for more experienced people that are already familiar with the certain type of cooking that you're doing? Explain that. Explain the wage ranges that that you'll be offering. You want to talk about your initial selection, onboarding, and training program, that you are going to develop one specifically for the counter servers and the host staff and the prep staff and the cook line staff, and that they're going to have X amount of days to review and taste and practice and work on the register and be tested, so that this way they feel confident that they know what they need to know before they wait on the customer. See, that answers that key question that a lot of readers of a first-time business plan have. And that's when I go to a restaurant, and these are really smooth, well-organized, established chain restaurants that I go to, I see that they sometimes have issues with staff. So how are you going to keep your staff motivated, well-trained, so when I walk in, they can answer a question, they can help me if I need help, and a good management description and staff selection and accounting and purveyor information goes a long way in gaining that confidence, so that they understand that it is going to work. A little hint here is, don't end with your staff on who they're going to be, what the range of pay is going to be, how the initial training is going to be. A good business plan also talks about how important the retention of people is going to be to your concept. How you're going to want people that work for you to feel that they've really found the right place. It's a positive work environment that you're creating, that they are going to be engaged in the ongoing operations. That means there's going to be continued training, involvement in the operations, cross-training, staff meetings that are motivational, so that the more involved the staff member is, the more they feel they found a right place to work, the longer they'll stay and the better job they do. So this is an excellent thing to mention in your business plan. The people, what's needed, wage, sure. Ongoing training, that's going to be very deliberate, that's going to include everything that they need, time for practice, information, testing, but then don't stop. How you're going to engage that person to keep that person continually develop so they stay longer and they do better. That's the staff part of it. And that's going to be very important. People who don't really know a lot about restaurants Trust me, they know that restaurants are struggling with labor, finding, keeping, having enough. They see that just because they're customers. So you address it in your plan. Then you move on to the systems and procedures that management organizational chart is going to be following. The fact that you realize that the most important thing in making sure that this concept works for the long haul is maintaining consistency. And that's a management's job. Okay, the initial design, the initial menu, the initial location, all that initial work is very helpful to get you started right. But after you operate for a while, that's gone. In order for you to keep your guests, build momentum, increase revenue, you've got to operate consistently. So hiring the staff, training the staff, that's wonderful. But there better be a paragraph in there that explains how all management is going to be consistent. So if you come in basically on a Tuesday, you like the experience, you come back in a week later on a Thursday, the portion, the presentation, the experience should be the same. And it will be if you're creating systems for that, like daily line checks, where before opening, everything is checked to make sure portion, presentation, temperature is ready. If you've got daily staff shift meetings, just a short pre-shift to make sure that everyone has cleared their mind and they're focused on the guests, the suggestive selling, the teamwork approach, and how we're going to help each other. So those are things that we talk about here. If we talk about that we're actually following administrative systems for opening, closing checklists, for daily information, how we're going to order and maintain our inventory because we're ordering from a par level, and we're going to have purchase orders that compare to the delivery receipts to make sure that orders and pricing matches, that we're going to have inventories done every period. So once they realize you're going to be managing your people and you're going to be managing your product in a consistent manner because you're creating systems right from the start, that's going to help people understand how, your intention is to manage and be successful. Accounting and reporting systems. You want to make sure that they understand that from the daily sales to the deposits, to the weekly summaries, to the monthly P&Ls, to the invoices that come in that are going to be coded to the correct chart of accounts are all going to match the generally accepted accounting procedures for restaurants. So this way, you're not just going to be grouping all of your expenses, depositing money, and just having a group of expenses, and hopefully we have money left over and we call that profit. That type of bookkeeping isn't going to create a lot of confidence in somebody who might be a partner or a landlord. And it's not going to help you really manage well. I mean, hopefully there is money left over and there's profit. That's always a good thing. But in order to manage by the numbers, you're going to need to show that you have an accounting system that has a chart of accounts to break things down by category, by cost of sales, by labor, by operating expenses, etc. So you mentioned all of that. Then we get into a more exciting part of operations, and that's the menu. Again, if you're doing this for the first time, you know roughly what you're going to want to offer for events on your food trailer or your food truck at the farmers markets, but you don't have the exact menu done. You may not know the exact prices at this point. For your restaurant, for sure, you may not have the entirety of your menu known, and you don't need it for a good menu section in a business plan. What you do need to do, though, is just show a sample menu that even if it has price ranges, if the appetizers we feel are going to specialize in this, this, and this, with a price range from this to this, that still gives you enough information to show continuity through the plan because it matches your concept description. It gives us enough information to actually start estimating initial inventory, item costing, and set final menu prices. We're going to get into all of the numbers in part 3 of this episode next time. It's going to be just building the numbers. It's going to be hard to kind of fit that in today with the general business plan outline. But you'll know that you're going to need this kind of information in order to build the numbers correctly. So that's why the menu has to be sort of a sample menu that describes the items being offered, the style of cooking by category. Remember, if you described in the concept description breakfast, lunch, dinner, weekend brunch, then make sure that in your menu section, you don't forget the weekend brunch. If you talked about how this concept was going to have a separate to-go large family pack menu, make sure you describe that in menu section. If you talked about how you're going to have private dining room available, if that's part of your concept. And if that's going to be a different menu, then again, make sure we talk about that. So what we want to do is describe every section. We want to highlight key items. You want to include price ranges. So maybe a few photos. If you've been doing some menu tasting, and by this time you've been doing some testing, maybe you've already had some focus groups with friends and you've got some really good pictures. We've just finished a couple of startup business plans, and she did just that. She had a really good category by category listing, really good descriptions of the items, really good price ranges, and each section had a photo of an item that we knew we'd be having, an entree, a special dessert, a basket of appetizers, and that kind of thing. So that's really part two of your operations section. After you described in great detail your management, your organization, your systems, your accounting, your staff process, et cetera. Then you go into the menu, breakfast, lunch, dinner, price ranges, how it's going to look, each section, and maybe a few photos. And then the third one, which is extremely important, is your marketing and promotion piece of the management section. This basically answers where my customers might be now and how am I going to get them. Marketing isn't just advertising. So a good business plan isn't going to say things like, we plan on opening quietly and then spending a lot of money on advertising. We're going to buy this kind of ad, this kind of ad, this kind of ad. So we can have a very active marketing plan. That's not going to be a good business plan answer for marketing. Instead, if you educate your reader that you know that marketing includes 3 key areas. And one area is everything about the operations. We'll call this local store marketing. Things that happen inside your restaurant, how you market while the customer's there. We're going to come back and give you some specific examples. The second one, of course, is media support. So yes, there is some advertising, social media, Instagram, maybe even some TikTok videos. There might be some directional, a billboard. There might be other types of media. Maybe you have, including entertainment, you need a radio program, but whatever media support that supports your restaurant concept, that's the second leg of marketing. So as I said, advertising isn't marketing. Advertising is a part of marketing though. So that's the second leg. And then the third one is community involvement. You'll notice that a lot of successful first-time restaurants really depend a lot on clicking with the community. So public relations is important. Getting involved in certain community events, sponsoring the right things where the customers see you, and being involved in the community is very important. So that is how you want to describe your marketing plan. Sometimes we even do it visually, where it's going to be marketing plan, 3 prongs, 3 boxes, local store, marketing, and then all of the things that are going to go in under that, like menu specials, seasonal offerings, the programs that you're going to want to put inside your to-go flyers that promote that, your interesting table tents, your holiday promotions, your special, say, bar promotions if there's a bar, your seasonal menu, your holiday dinners, because you want to do something for Valentine's and Mother's Day and Father's Day cookouts and back to school, et cetera. Those are the kinds of things that you list as your local store promotions. Then under the media support is where you're going to talk about your development of things like a very active and updated website and social media and Instagram photos. And if there is going to be a need for any kind of TV or radio or billboards or that kind of thing. And then the third one, which is really very important for restaurants, especially small restaurants. You probably notice this yourself, that the smaller independent restaurants that you go to typically subscribe to being very active in the community. You walk into the restaurant, they've got some promotion that is for the benefit of the athletics going on at the nearby school, or the soccer team that they're sponsoring, or the blood drive that they're sponsoring, or the it's getting cold and they're part of a drive to collect coats, for the homeless, or food pantry drives for the food bank. These kinds of things are very, very good. Not only are they good because they do good, but they work as a promotional arm to show the community that you're caring and that you're active in the community that is supporting them. People like doing business with people that they like. So if I'm the reader of a business plan and I see that that's your intention, that part of your marketing and ad budget is going to be promotion of events, community connections, charitable, obligations. I know from the restaurants that I go to that might work. And then also I like that you want to fit into that. So it isn't just about me, get busy, keep my people busy, give me money. It's about me getting busy, but getting busy in a way that is also bonding with the community, getting those customers to like me so they don't just come once, they come again, and supporting organizations that you yourself believe in. So it's good to write something about that in there. And this is where I tell people, we all know that no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. So there's many restaurants that are started up, not just by a drive and a passion for the restaurant, but because as they're open and a successful business, they want to spend some time and give back to a particular thing that's important to them. Maybe it's the annual March of Dimes. Maybe it's maybe it's the breast cancer fun runs. Maybe it is food banking or feeding kids in school. So if there is something that you are very passionate about, then that item can be written in here that you want to do something special as part of your marketing plan that is tied to the community and helps support this particular item. Typically, marketing is running 3 to 4% of revenue for brand new startup restaurants. Food trucks are spending that in all of their engagement exercises to promote where they're going to be, what they're going to be, dates, farmers markets, special events, things that they want you to do with them. So that's probably pretty good to say in the marketing plan. So if a good marketing plan explains all 3 of these legs, what parts of those legs are going to be important to you? And if you build confidence that we know about what it's going to spend annually, and then go ahead and say that you're going to come up with an annual marketing plan so that you can calendar key items that you're going to be doing, summer items, back to school items. When do we start the holiday promotions, gift card sales, Christmas parties, or that kind of thing? Holidays, if people feel confident in reading that there'll be an annual marketing plan, an annual marketing budget that's going to be reviewed at least 60 days out so you can do proper planning, then that gains the confidence that you're wanting from the reader, that even though you might be doing this for your first time, you're following all of the right principles that make restaurants successful. So for a quick wrap up, there were 5 main sections, I think, that we went over to present a really good executive summary. We write it last because we pull the information from who we are and what we're doing from the concept description, why it's going to work from the market segment section, right? Where it's going to be from the location section. When the investors can expect to get their money back, well, that's going to come from the financial section, and that's what we're doing in episode 3. So please check back next week. We're going to do nothing but build the financial section completely. We're going to describe every line item and in a good opening budget and how you should do your opening income projections. So after the executive summary, remember then we talked about how to describe the concept, how to inform them of the market segment, how to describe a couple of sample locations, and then what goes into your operations section, your management, your structure, your systems, etc., your menu, your price ranges, your descriptions with a few photos, and then you wind up with marketing and promotion, how you understand the customers and how you're going to reach out to the customers, how you're going to schedule a calendar, and about what it's going to cost. So those are the basic sections of a good restaurant plan. I know you can go online and you can find a tremendous amount of business plan sites and how-to guides and different templates that you can download and structure. I shared with you sort of a customized structure that comes off of that restaurantowner.com template. It's because I'm most familiar with it, and it's this customized approach that I've personally used for years, and I've seen success. And it's because, as we said on the onset of the program, The business plan isn't just to help you present to raise money or just to interest a landlord, but it's also to help you maintain your focus. And if you write it in this way, you're going to find that the landlord or the friends and family or the SBA loan committee guy are going to follow this format. It's going to be easy to read. And as their questions are coming up, they're turning to the very next section that answers them. What we're going to do in the concept, how does that fit into the industry? Where is it going to be? How is it going to operate? Okay. And then we're going to end with what it's going to cost and what it's going to make. So that's it for today.